Hi, intrepid viewers. Good to see you back. If you're a new viewer, I'm Dr. Lena, sociologist, anthropologist from Australia, taking a look at all this craziness. Now, since we last spoke, we saw the world leaders flock to reopen Notre Dame Cathedral. I just want to know, was Elon even invited? Or did Macron have to run around and get an extra chair? Anyway, he turned up with Elon, and frankly, you'd have to think there's not enough sage in Paris to go into the cathedral after that lineup of horrors. And somewhere along the line, the Yeti decided to make a little joke, never good, never good. And we could just annex Canada. You know what that's about, don't you? Yes, exactly. Back when Melania first met Trudeau and there were the dotted lines and she was flirting madly, like, meet me in the back of the Mercedes. And the Yeti couldn't handle it. So I think this is one of his little revenge moments, like Trudeau would actually care. But anyway, so moving on here, speaking of annexing, let's start with Russia. I'll move to the Russian cards. Putin, or Putinchka, as Hogarth calls him, Putinchka's had a really bad week or two. Right. So the Ukraine war is going spectacularly badly for both sides, in fairness, both sides. However, Russia's been taking a lot of hits. The fact that he brought in North Korean soldiers who reportedly are malnourished, they were malnourished on arrival and they're not getting enough supplies, and all of that says that the conscript Russian army isn't cutting it. So he has announced, in true sort of rule the world fashion, things are going really badly. So I'll annex Belarus. He's thinking about it. Belarus has been one of his few allies. And the head of Belarus said, no, 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 we're letting you have access to Belarus because, I serve you and lick your sandals the rest of the time. But if you try and annex us, that'll be war. So he's had that. He's had the collapse of the Assad regime that he has supported in Syria as well. And that's not to mention the riots in Georgia who want to throw off the shackles of the Soviet Union, and they don't want to be ruled from the Kremlin. So he's up against it. So let's have a look here. It's always a worry, like in Syria, um, when a dictator leaves, it creates a vacuum. And the reason it creates a vacuum is because when someone is a tyrant, dictator, fascist, all opposition is either in jail or miraculously fall out of windows or off boats. And so there's no healthy opposition. And that's what causes the vacuum. So let's have a look. How are things going for Pratinchka as we speak? As we speak. Pratinchka. Let's have a look here. Look, I think he's totally exhausted. Okay, now with this, what's happening here is people are getting together who are not comfortable getting together. It's like there's a stiffness or a tension in all his interactions in-house, because we know it's been reported for decades he is paranoid essentially paranoid. And so this is even inside his inner circle. There's this tension. What's the tension about? How to move forward. Now, this whole deck, I love this deck. It's the 12 chairs. It was a play by, I think, Chekhov back in the 20s and 30s, Stalin era, and you couldn't say anything against the government. Sound familiar? Not much has changed. So he wrote this play, and the play is all about looking for the jewels in a chair and what people will do to find these jewels. So I had to give you the backstory to make sense of these cards. This is two people fighting over the chair, wrestling it apart. Okay. How's he feeling? Glad you asked. He's feeling absolutely worn out. And if you notice in the background, there's a skeleton in a uniform, which is kind of weird because I was just talking about badly fed soldiers. Right? But there he is. He's exhausted. What's his plan moving forward? I think for the first time in his professional, political, tyrannical life, he hasn't got a clue. This is a bare room and an empty chair, right? I don't think he actually knows what to do. Too many things have happened this last 2 weeks. The Ukrainian thing, which he thought he'd win in, 3 days, maybe a week, has drained everybody's resources. He's left with an empty chair. What's his internal psychological space? I think he's absolutely freaked out. Absolutely. Can you see this face? Freaked out. Looks a bit like Giuliani, who's also freaked out. Sorry, I don't understand. Giuliani's chronically bad behavior in courtrooms as someone with his legal background. Why hasn't he been sent for compulsory psychological evaluation? Maybe he has and we haven't heard about it, but I don't see why these judges are indulging this insanity. But there's many things I don't understand. Okay, so Russia. All right, now we're going to go back to the BRICS countries, but I want to have a look going forward. Now, as I talked about recently, and you guys all know, the Yeti probably didn't realize that the BRICS included Russia, India, and China. Now, India is fully upset, really upset by being threatened by him. It's the bullying by the US and, let's say, the G8 generally that made the BRICS become BRICS. So he's pushed them. Russia, India, China are already strategic allies in many theatres of geopolitics. Right. And that's before you get into the new BRICS, and that's 23 countries or something. So this lunacy continues. Now, one of the things that the Yeti has said in his threat to the BRICS is you're not allowed to create another currency and do. He's obviously missed the fact the petrodollar hasn't been the peak world currency for quite some time. But he's threatening them and what currencies they can and can't use. Meanwhile, he's promoting crypto. Okay. And so what I actually want to read on is the two enfants terribles, that would be the demon spawn, Eric and Don Jr., are the head of World Liberty Finances, this new crypto phenomenon. Right, let's have a look what is happening here. What is happening here? Well, be very suspicious of anything with liberty in the title. It always means the opposite. My liberty, your oppression, Let's have a look here. The demon spawn, world liberty, financials. Let's have a look. Oh, are they upside down? Yes, they are. Oh, it's a very bad joke. The very first card is the devil card. Right. Well, here we go. People are chained to the devil. So if you enter into it, I would never say to anyone individually, don't touch crypto. Plenty of people are going to make plenty of money, but it is a pyramid scheme. It is a casino, and at some point it won't be good. But people are chained to greed, you know, the quick fix. Now, with the hangman, that can mean things are delayed. So it might not be going forward as quickly as they think it will, but it will be going forward. This also, this card is about looking at things from another angle. So I think this might be referring to the traditional big banks. So some of them are experimenting with the idea of bringing crypto into the stable and so forth, but we're going to see more new ideas. There could or should be legal boundaries around this, but I'd emphasize the should. There'll be talk of it, but we haven't managed to regulate the greenback or the Australian dollar or anything else properly in real terms. But I think this will be legal things trying to get not ahead of the game. No, no, they're so far behind the eight ball, but trying to put some sort of legal guardrails. So that's followed by those who will make a lot of money, King of Pentacles. People will be sucked into it with money they can't afford to lose. Won't end well for your average punter. But this will play out over years. I'm talking about the next 5 years here. There'll be short-term gains. But just remember one thing, which is it doesn't exist. It's just a series of algorithms, you know. So be very careful. Now, before I move on to the next thing while I'm sorting out my cards, Jill Biden is considering a lawsuit. Various people have suggested the figure of up to $100 million because the Yeti went and took her image and used it in a promotion, a joke promotion of cologne called Fight, Fight, Fight. Will Jill go down the legal route? I don't know. I think it'd be better. What she should do is have a picture of Melania and launch a new cologne line called Impeach, Impeach. I think it'd be a winner. Okay, now let's have a look here. The transition is going spectacularly badly, and you don't have to be psychic to know why. The Yeti I'm talking about, is threatened by competent people. He does not want competent people around him because they'd see through him in a nanosecond. So he only surrounds himself with absolute lackeys. And one of the more sinister aspects of Project 25, and it's hard to rate the sinister factors about this, but one of them is about replacing all the civil servants. And so let's have a look here. It's called Schedule F, and it wants to sack tens of thousands of civil servants immediately and over time get rid of all the rest and replace them with friends and relations. Right? So let's have a look here. Will there be any resistance to this from the various departments? Or let's just look at the energy around this mass sacking of public servants. Let's have a look. Just a quick dive in here. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Look, short term, I think people will try and make a case to higher bodies and try and defend the fundamentals of a working democracy, using the term loosely, some sort of defence. But with the false knight at the helm spreading disaster, I don't think they're going to have much luck. The tower turns up. I think this is the blowing up of departments in the sense of they won't be able to function. I mean, most of government is really boring procedural stuff that results in people getting what they need to get. Okay, so I think they're going to defend for a while. I think this where it'll get interesting is the sacked public servants will then get on social media. This is my Twitter, um, and continue the fight from there. And they'll start explaining to people on the ground what their jobs actually were and they're not getting done now. So we're going to see infrastructure dramas, health dramas, every sort of education. Oh, I should dedicate another 150 videos to what's happening with education. Anyway, moving on. Not all good in the hood for the trumpet. Okay, there's an avalanche of civil cases, including, and these don't get suspended apparently, but that was in the days when there was law and order. But the ones that we should be watching are the ones relating to January 6th, and that includes lawmakers who were terrorised and threatened, and on behalf of the injured police officers. Those cases go ahead. So let's have a quick look there. Oh, sorry. Well, I think with these, I think they've got good lawyers. I hope they've got good lawyers because this is a case of explaining as you go. Now, this is where Mueller, remember the Mueller report? Mueller was singularly badly um, able to actually speak what was going on. That wasn't his role, admittedly, but if you're not good at talking the talk, you have a spokesperson, right? You have a spokesperson do it. People need to keep up to play with these court cases. The Getty's lawyers are always going wah, 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 the Alina Havers and everywhere, and it used to be Ty Cobb and all the others. The Dems don't seem to have that on this. They need this, is my point. They need someone coming in. Judgment. Pleased to see that. I think they will get a judgment in their favour eventually, but we've got the hermit card. They will be asked to keep quiet, the actual defendants, throughout this whole next ordeal for them, because that'll be virtually 5 years on. And that's not going to be easy, but that's important. Let the lawyers speak, right? And this card, see, these two cards are related, the Page and Knight of Wands. They need to get their point of view across constantly. Okay. Now, let's wish them well on that. But I want to go back to the trade wars now. See, the problem is the Yeti doesn't understand allies. He certainly doesn't understand sovereignty. The president of Mexico, who we've all warmed to, have we not, Claudia Sheinbaum, she's up for the fight. And she said, Mexico is not a colony. You know, we're a sovereign country. He doesn't get any of it. Despite being president of the United States for 4 years, he has no clue. It is Sesame Street behind the scenes here. So these ill-conceived trade wars where he's taking on the entire world. Now, already the soy farmers, I don't know, China obviously consumes a lot of soy products, all jokes aside. That's where they went last time. The soya farmers had that experience. They, in turn, were dealt blow after blow in terms of their export market. I bet any money they still voted for that clown. And now they're on the front line again. Let's have a look. I want to know, is the public waking up to tariffs? They seem to, but that could just be on my feed where you see all these wonderful, heartening videos of MAGA people going, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, I didn't realize. So let's have a look. That could be 1%. Who would think a humble legume like soya bean could be at the center of the universe? But let's have a look at this trade. This is how people reacting to the trade wars. All right. Well, I think here what's going to happen is with the magician card, for those learning tarot, it covers the spectrum from good juju all the way to bad juju. So no prizes for guessing which one we're talking about here. But this is basically, this is the ultimate master of subterfuge, of distracting people from what's really going on. Look over here, not over there, etc. So he's still at this stage got that power. But people are beginning to realize it will affect them, particularly now Obamacare is going to be scrapped at their insistence. And of course, they failed to pick up it was the same thing as affordable health. I'm sorry, but there should be a stupid tax. And then you could pay for all the government programs of your dreams. But they're starting to realize that they're the ones going to be out in the cold. Oh, duh. It'll happen, and then suddenly we'll see an acceleration where the impact will hit. I'm sure most of the big suppliers and manufacturers have been stocking up madly before the tariffs hit. So you're not going to see the price affected straight away. But once it starts, look at this Eight of Wands. This is incoming, all in the same direction. So this will be everything, cars, television, electronics, salad, everything, all at once. They're going to go, oh, how did this happen? Some sort of compromise will have to be reached. So because the Yeti is the most transactional human, he's throwing these numbers out that just come to him while he's cleaning his teeth. He'll have to compromise on some of these numbers, but the damage will be done. It's also interesting with this card that people will start circumventing the United States. Hello, that's what happens in trade wars. You get other trading partners' pet. Do I have to explain everything to these people? I mean, really? No, I feel really sorry for you guys who are going to be impacted. All jokes aside, horrifying, but it's like it has to go through this process. Now, just let me check my notes here. let's just talk about a couple of things. One is that Murdoch, Rupert, lost this court case in Nevada. He and his fascist progeny wanted to exile the other three adult children. And some judge in Nevada have said, no, I'm looking at a cast iron contract here from their mother that says 4 equal shares. Imagine that. How radical was she? Whoa, imagine treating your children equally. Like she was out there. Anyway, he lost. Ha 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 ha. He'll probably take it further up the chain. Who knows? Oh, and then, of course, there was the shooting of the United Healthcare CEO. Oh, wow. There's been an arrest, I think, just last night. What was fascinating, of course, and I'm sure you've all noticed it, was the number of people who had no sympathy for the dead CEO and all the sympathy in the world for this guy who's become like the Robin Hood of healthcare. Fascinating. Fascinating. Now, I'll do some cards for you guys, but I just want to say generally, as things unfold, and there's going to be many unforeseen dramatic twists in the tale, right? But as things unfold, just be prepared. You have to, my beloved ones, find a way of dealing with the chaos and the pain and the distress. And so I'm here for you. This community is working for you. So really know you're not alone in this because you need to conserve your energy because you need to resist however you can. Resist, resist. Be the change you want to see. It's really important. And we are being challenged at this time in history for sure. Very soon, I think in a few days, I'm going to be on with Andre, the astrologer, and we have a rave about once a month, maybe. The astrologer and the sociologist, no cards. So tune in. Andre will put alerts up, and we'll talk more about this because I want to talk on his channel about revolutions as such, because we all tend to think we'd be the good guys, right? Oh, yes, I would have been in the French Resistance. Oh, yes, I would have done this. I would have done that. Oh, yes, I would have taken on France here or Britain there. The reality is most people don't. Right? And also, in real terms, revolutions are not comfortable, but the result, think about that. Okay, cards for you guys. Let's have a look. Cards for you guys. Your takeaway message for today. Let's have a look. All right, here we go. Now, because women are being attacked with a savagery on social media, now, mercifully, in some ways, we didn't have social media when I was a young thing, but I would have been a loudmouth and I would have been targeted by these misogynistic, dreadfully malformed men, right? They're just disgusting. So the point is, women under attack everywhere. And I will remind you, they say they're coming after abortion, but they will come after contraception. And I'm old enough to remember my sister couldn't get contraception because she wasn't married. She had to actually get married to get access to contraception. Yeah, that's going to be coming in, I'm telling you. Watch out where it states. The point is the collective wisdom here. Stay calm. If you had a good granny and she's still with you, get in touch with her. If she has passed to the other side, light candles for her. If she wasn't the best granny in the world, and let's be honest, most families are not perfect, if she is on the other side, she can still help you. This is about wise, feminine energy being solid through it all. It's a balancing act coming up that will affect people's finances and stuff, right? It's not an easy juggle. But let's look at this card for a moment. The huddled figures going past the church window are so stuck in their own misery and pain, they can't see the light. It's really important to look up, look at the sky, look out. What's the furthest point you can see? Even if you're in an urban area, it's actually a good eye exercise. How far can you see? Make sure you're in a safe place and you're not going to get run over by a car while you're zoning out. Look out and look up, okay? Find the light. And know that this is a karmic moment in time, in history. It's absolutely destined, but this is the upward roll of the wheel. So we're here, like just about heading into the nadir where it'll get worse before it gets worse. And then go. So we've got to get rid of these mortal time frames of, short-term thinking. Look at the bigger picture, bigger picture. Okay, guys, lots of love. You take care. Bye now. Ciao.